All right, we're recording. I'm on the air here with my dear friend Ken Mottet.
Yay!
Hey Ken. Ken is the mayor of Rockabilly, and
I'm putting you in the position right now where you got to give me the big build up. I want to see how you promote me to the folks listening to your program.
Wow. Okay. Well, you're probably a role model for me, and I mean that sincerely. I haven't always been, when we first met, I was kind of an obnoxious kid, and I would watch the way that you would handle yourself, both socially as well as on stage. And you're a very deliberately affable person, and you are very diplomatic and fair-handed, and you kind of remind me a little bit of another person that I look up to, and that's Dick Clark. And that same kind of guy in my appraisal in a lot of ways. It's
thank you, Rocco. You and I met when we were both much younger, sometime in the early 1990s at the what was then called the Indianapolis Rockabilly Rebel Weekend.
It would have been late 90s. It would have been 97.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember that because I was just out of high school, so I was still of the age where I could remember things like that.
You still kind of smelled like a gymnasium.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I still there is still a little bit, just a little bit of puberty still kicking around inside of me.
Despite the fact that at the time you were about 9 feet tall and 4 feet wide, and pretty much commanded any room you entered. But you and I met at these Rockabilly events, and our eyes met across a crowded dance floor, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Indeed.
And we discovered that we had the fondness for the same stupid movies and stupid comic books and stupid rockabilly music, and here we are all these years later.
Yeah, indeed. So it's a fantastic thing, and I intend to have you on my quote-unquote show here more than once by a fair
Absolutely.
Deal. Because we always have a lot to talk about.
You've been to my house on numerous occasions, and I've been to your place a time or two, and it always ends up the two of us looking at each other and kind of thinking, well, that was a good conversation. That should have been a program or something.
Yeah, indeed.
So here we are.
We're starting to figure it out. And you were kind enough to have me on your show once. Or twice, actually.
That's right. I used to have I had a radio show that was on a small 100-watt radio station out of my hometown in Fairfield, Iowa. I did a show there, and Rocco was my guest on the program on a couple of occasions. Just talking about rockabilly music and stupid stuff and movies and cars, and it was all good, clean fun. Speaking of which, I hope to be returning the favor with you here sometime in the very near future and having you as a guest on the latest thing I'm involved in, which is the Chicago Vintage Show, which anybody can find on Facebook. You can either search my name, Ken Mottet, or the Chicago Vintage Show, and it's a once-a-month show that is shot in the Chicago area, and it's sort of like the Tonight Show, but all about rockabilly stuff, and I'm lucky enough to be the Johnny Carson of the darn thing.
It's cool. I don't know if I've told you that, but it is. I'm really pleased that it turned out. It's neat.
I'm having fun, even if it, if I don't turn into an overnight YouTube sensation, I'm cool with that because I'm having fun. The journey is the fun, not the arrival.
Indeed, that's the name of the game. Well,
so why am I here? What are we talking about today, there, Bruno?
Well, we're in those days. I guess we're right at the end of those days, but those days in between Christmas and New Year's, which I really enjoy. Because nothing important happens. Everybody has sort of already had all of their events. They put their events out of the way. The gifts have all been opened. Whatever stress and existential dread that people might have going on is hopefully over with. Nobody quite knows.
When you think Christmas, you do think existential dread.
Some people do. I usually have a lot of fun at Christmas time, I have to say, but I realize that I'm very fortunate as a result of that, and not everybody has that, I guess. But
right.
But I know it's there.
You are hitting the old nail on the head there, brother.
Indeed. Well, and I worked in retail for years, so I remember how that was. I remember how that was, but even that I kind of liked. But this time of year, this little period, these 6 days, always make me think about one of my favorite movies, and also if not your favorite movie, one of your favorite movies.
No, this is absolutely my favorite movie in the whole wide world, in the same way that Big Sandy and the Fly Ride Boys are my favorite band. My favorite movie in the whole wide world, released in 1982, The Immortal Diner.
Diner, absolutely, yeah. And
I would say right from the get-go, I know that there are women who enjoy this movie. My wife being one of them. Well, she's kind of been forced to like the movie because I tend to watch the film at least twice a year, sometime in the summer and then right around the Christmas holidays,
right.
Because the movie takes place during the period between Christmas and New Year's in 1959 in Baltimore.
Starts on Christmas night, ends on New Year's Eve.
Right. So when that time of year rolls around, I want to watch the movie. And the last time I sat down and watched it, I swear to God, she was right there next to me. And it was like she was seeing the film for the first time and also revisiting an old friend. She knows where all the lines are. She knows where all the jokes are. And yet she was just enjoying it as much as I do every time. I'm a very fortunate man that Mary is my wife, and there you go.
A dear friend of mine as well. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Did I introduce you to this movie, or did you know about it, and then I just kind of poked at you and said, hey, Rocco, this is my favorite movie. Here's my VHS copy that I taped off of Cinemax.
Yeah.
I now have a DVD copy. You can have my VHS copy.
You gave me I had seen the movie when I was a kid, and I didn't really completely know what I was seeing. And then you were just seeing guys with short hair and suits riding around in cool cars and talking, doing a lot of talking. And then I saw it again when during one of the couple week-long stints that I was staying at your house, just kicking around Chicago. Okay. You had gone and got it at a yard sale or an estate sale on VHS, and this is when DVD was coming. And you were like, "Here, watch this again. This is your job," because you were working, and you were like, "Here, your job for today is to watch this movie again." Now that you're a man,
200-page book report.
Yeah, exactly. Now that you're a man, and you were like, if you like it, keep it. And I still have it today. I'm looking at it right now.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I'm one of the lucky ones because I saw the movie when it was released in 1982. I was in college at the time, so basically, I was the same age as the characters, in essence.
Right.
So what they were having, Diner, for those who haven't seen it, again, came out in 1982. It stars a whole bunch of actors who hadn't become famous yet. Let's just run down the list. Steve Guttenberg, Daniel Stern, Mickey Rourke, Kevin Bacon, Tim Daly, Ellen Barkin, Paul Reiser, Michael Tucker. These are all people that became famous, and Diner was like the first or second film some of them had ever done. I believe in Kevin Bacon's case, he had made his appearance in Animal House, and then there must have been some other movies in between there, but then Diner was like his first major role as far as I recall. I could be completely wrong. And it's these characters who are all at this point early college age, not struggling, but just coming to terms with being adult men, having relationships with women. Daniel Stern's character is already married. Steve Guttenberg's character is about to get married.
Yeah.
And so it's that whole going from being a young man to trying to be an adult young man, all condensed into a 2-hour story. And on top of that, it's set in Baltimore in 1959. So if you're a rockabilly fanatic, you get to look at cool clothes and cool cars. The guys are sitting in a fantastic diner. It's everything you could ever want in a film.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like you're looking at dinosaurs right before the asteroid hits.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
Everything's about to change for these guys in ways that they can't even begin to comprehend. So that symbolism, I think, is very much deliberate, being 1959, going into 1960. But
right.
I feel like
there is a moment at the end of the film at Steve Guttenberg's character's wedding where you see the sign that is hanging over their wedding reception, and it says whatever it is, Eddie and Elise for the 60s and forever.
Right.
So yeah, it does give you that foreshadowing of here comes the 1960s, and boy, things are going to be different, but you don't know how.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, it's a movie that any guy who was ever that age, which is all of us, of course, can relate to it, I'm sure. Just that just goofing around, like staying up all night doing nothing, talking about nothing, but somehow talking about everything, and just having just one momentous occasion after another. Like, I remember when I was right out of high school, like right before I met you, or right around the time that I met you for the first time, I was trying to keep a journal of what I was doing every day. And I had like a week in, and I was just doing dumb shit. I was going to bars, I was goofing off. But to me, it was huge. And I remember that I lost it, and I tried to rewrite everything that happened. I was like, I can't even remember. Everything was so huge.
Right.
Because, you kissed a girl, whatever. Like, all these things that life sort of makes into just everyday occurrences for you later on, and you don't think about it too much. At that age, the world is kind of opening up for you. Even if your world is only as big as a diner and wherever pool halls or whatever else you're hanging out at.
Right. Exactly. And it does seem like, kind of a rollicking little adventure. Every little thing that they do is kind of a little adventure.
Yeah.
The movie starts with the characters going to a dance on Christmas Eve that's held in some sort of social hall.
Yeah.
But the first little adventure that we see is Kevin Bacon's character, who we find out later has had some major issues with his date at this event. He's down in the basement, obviously drunk, and with his bare fist breaking windows out of the basement of this social hall, and Mickey Rourke's character has to come and talk him down off of the ledge.
Yeah.
And it's those kinds of moments, like you said, they are little adventures, and they're at a very human level, but at the same time, they're larger than life.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's what...
Something that occurred to me about that scene, especially when I was watching it, is that I was thinking if this was a movie about a 40-year-old guy, he would cut his hand open on that glass. Like, somehow when you're a young man, you can drink yourself under the table, right, and the next day eat a Big Mac for lunch and feel fine. You can drive fast in your car and not crash. Like, it just, obviously people crash and all sorts of bad things happen to young people as well. But just somehow when you're younger, there's just this, there's this resiliency that you have when you're a kid. And a lot of that is the truth in that movie.
There is that resiliency in most of the characters in the film, and you can see them, standing right on the edge of becoming grown up and adults and oh, am I going to lose my resiliency? Am I going to lose the magic? And yet there are shadows that, no, they can continue to be cool even though they grow up and